Welcome everybody to this second day of this 29th International Congress of Youth Researchers in Zaragoza. With me I have Claudia Marín, the president of ICIJA, and I am Sergio Perez, the director of the Congress. Today, the second day of expositions, we will do the second and third presentation sessions, and in the afternoon we will play a scientific escape room.
So first of all, our first speakers are from Russia, Digital Educational Environment at the School.
So here you can see our team. What is circular economy? The perfect circular economy can be found in nature. There's no waste in nature. Everything created by any bacteria, plant, mushroom, or animal is used for something. Modern economy is far away from it. It is called linear economy. It is based on production, consumption, and then utilization. Waste created in that process could be very dangerous for us. In Russia, this problem is especially important. In 2013, Vladimir Putin declared that there are 3.5 billion tons of waste generated every year. The whole European Union makes less by 1 billion tons. Here I have to mention circular economy. It consists of reducing waste producing, recycling, and renewal of resources.
Alexei, sorry, we cannot see part of your screen. There's kind of a black square, so maybe you can.
You can.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I stopped at the consumption. So, while linear economy is an extensive way of development, which is based on more and more resources being extracted, circular economy is in an intensive way. It is based on new technologies. A few problems have caused our project. First, extremely dangerous pollution of the environment with municipal solid wastes. And the second, ineffective use of wastes. Based on those problems, we can formulate some premises. First, pollution of environment is a big problem nowadays because it is extremely dangerous for people. Second, enormous quantity of forest dumps in Russia. Third, it's waste incineration. It is the most common way of utilization, and it is harmful because of producing CO2. Russia is very weak in involving waste in circular economy, especially comparing to Europe. Viewing from economy point of view, rubbish market has a great potential, and big amount of municipal solid waste can be recycled, about 40%. So on this base, we made up our goals and objectives. First, to study a modern Russian situation, because without knowledge about what is happening today, we cannot make any plans for tomorrow. There is no need to make up something completely new. So the second is to analyze different country solutions of these problems. And after that, we can make an algorithm of creating a waste recycling plant in Russia.
Many large companies are interested in recycle. Now, world leaders set goals for things well. By 2025, 10 million tons of recycled plastic will be used in new products in the EU market. Uh, Also, recycle 50% of plastic packaging waste by 2025. By 2030, more than 50% of Euro plastic waste will be recycled. By 2030, all plastic packaging or in Europe market is recyclable or recyclable in a cost-effective manner. And by 2030, plastic sorting and recycle capacity should quadruple from 2015 across Europe.
The carbon footprint is the sum of all greenhouse gas emissions produced directly and indirectly by an individual, organization, or product. The carbon footprint is divided into three levels: in making of a product, in the production of electricity, and in the production of raw materials. One way to reduce the carbon footprint is to use a personal car less and replace driving with walking or recycling. If this is not if this is not possible, then it is worth using public transport. In the production of paper bags, 70% more CO2 is released than in the production of plastic bags.
Uh, Currently, the global petrochemical industry is focused on realizing the potential of waste recycling, global plastic waste turnover. In the beginning, raw materials for gas and oil recycling are produced at the gas and oil companies. Then they go to the factories where they are recycled by pyrolysis and dehydrogenation. They are broken down into monomers. After that, monomers, olefins and polyolefins, polymerize into complex compounds, plastics and elastomers. And as a result, after using their products, polymers waste is produced. Now, in the world, 40% of the waste is buried, 25% is incineration with energy production, 19% is discharge outside uh, special equipped areas. That's illegal landfills, incineration without energy production, and disposal into oceans and forests. And only 16% of waste is collected and sorted for recycling. But of these, 3% are operational losses. It's complex raw materials and contaminated plastic. 12% is mechanical recycling. That's granulation, compounding, and PET recycling. And only 1% is chemical recycling. That's PET hemolysis and depolymerization, thermolysis of mixed plastics, pyrolysis and hydrogenation. This is the highest priority method because as a result, such imported substance as naphtha and olefins are produced. And gasification of MCV, this technology can't compete with others yet. Project selection criteria. The first, that a lot of waste is generated in Russia Federation, so we will always have raw materials. The second is that the recycling method, thermolysis, is acceptable from the point of view of environmental friendliness, and this method allows us to recycle large volumes of contaminated waste. And the thought that waste was made from raw materials similar to those produced by Sibur, so we will be able to quickly uh, integrate our technology into a large company. Uh, all MCV can be represented in the form of a pyramid, where at the top is clean plastic sorted by types. The minimum amount of content of this type of raw material in the composition of MCV. Then a mixture plastic with a predominance of one type of plastic, mixed plastic. This fraction isn't currently realized during sorting and ends up in the remains for disposal or incineration. And then waste not included in the sorting and not plastic waste. The maximum amount in the composition of MCV. There are several technologies for recycling plastic. Mechanical, when the waste is melted down into a recyclate and then cooled and cut into pellets. Processed product is compounds with a decrease in the grade of the secondary product in relation to the original raw material. This technology can be used to produce plastic in the food industry. Salvolis, it's a physical method. Processed product is polymers analogs of the feedstock. Hemolysis, processed product is monomers. Thermolysis, when the waste under the influence of high temperatures decomposes into various fractions. Processed product is synthetic oil and raw materials for petrochemicals. And gasification. Processed product is syngas, methanol, ethanol, and so on. How
The United States is the 12th country in the world in dumping plastic waste into the world ocean. The US Environmental Protection Agency is dealing with waste recycling issues to rectify the situation. Now, in the United States, there is a circular recycling chain. Plastic municipal waste is recycled using thermolysis. The resulting thermolysis oil is then used in catalytic cracking to produce aviation kerosene. Large aviation companies use this kerosene, which allows you to get the maximum benefit from garbage. Perhaps the most important rule that exists in the US is the rule of free reduce, reuse, and recycle. China has completely stopped importing foreign waste from January 1st, 2021. Recycling of scrap metal, especially non-ferrous, remains the most profitable and relatively of scrap metal, especially non-ferrous, remains the most profitable and relatively easy to sort. Plastic requires sorting. Mechanical is the most common way of utilization, and it reduces the quality of the material and has a finite number of recycles. It accounts for 90% of plastic recycling. Now, processing methods are more technologically advanced. They require investments and are not as profitable due to higher operating costs.
So, which instruments can be used in Russia? What would a potential production scheme look like? First, a raw material preparation unit where the plastic collected from the polygon will be tested for morphology to form a coherent raw material flow. Second, there will be a thermoplastic unit where the raw materials is heated to a temperature of 30 or 350 to 400 degrees Celsius, distilled, condensed into thermoplastic oil. Training in this case will be less costly for raw materials than in the other mode of handling mixed waste. Third, the thermoplastic oil after its fractionation and hydropurification will be divided into several fractions. First, gas, and second, synthetic naphtha. Gasoline is heavy fraction that can proceed on catalytic cracking, splitting with catalysis. And synthetic naphtha will be recycled on pyrolysis. And we are ready to demonstrate you the production patterns that already exist in the world. So thank you for the attention. Now we are ready to answer your questions.
Chicos. Well, thank you very much, guys. That was great. That was so interesting. So we have a question. Could all this garbage be used for the construction of ecological means that facilitate the reduction of the amount of waste?
Can you please repeat the question? I haven't heard.
Sure. The question is, could all this garbage be used for the construction of ecological means that facilitate the reduction of the amount of waste?
I suppose yes, but we have to understand that it's not always very profitable. Sometimes it needs investments of government or big companies.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. So, I guess...
Yeah, I guess our next our next speakers are from Russia also, and with Roman Skorik, that is going to present a digital library based on Raspberry Pi 3B+.
Okay, so thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much. We are ready now with the third project that is also from Russia.
Yes, I'm from Russia. And greetings everyone, my name is Roman Skorik, I'm 8th grade student and the number 24 information technology lesson in Nuremberg, Russia. I'm a member of the Sesión Neuroscience Academy. Today I would like to tell you about my project, digital library based on the microcomputer Raspberry Pi. The high cost of paper books as well as the decrease in the number of available online resources distributing licensed books, many other factors make the digital library hugely in demand. You can see the main goal of my work on the slide. To develop a digital library, the following hardware platform was selected: a single board microcomputer Raspberry Pi 3B+, which has a built-in Wi-Fi adapter, Bluetooth, Ethernet port, low-priced, and with all the necessary technical specifications. Let's move to the creation. To get started, download the Raspberry operating system image of the official manufacturer website and create bootable microSD card using the special program. We install the memory card into a single board microcomputer Raspberry Pi 3B+, connect the monitor to output data, and work with the shell via the digital HDMI port, Ethernet cable, and power supply via micro USB. We start the Raspbian operating system and configure the system files, configuring the Raspbian Pi 3B+ network equipment to work after the software installation. Then it installs the software for raising the wireless access point, for raising the local web server, and for the digital to work correctly. Hostpd Apache 2 DHCP PHP 7. We leave the wireless access point using hostpd 2 and DHCP launch and configure the web server using Apache 2. To write the software for the future library, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. HTML, CSS is using to create the visual part of the library. JS will be used to create interactive elements. PHP is using for user interaction with the server. Well, the system is ready for use. Then, to protect the Raspberry Pi microcomputer, I have designed a protective case, elements of which I printed on 3D printer from a thermoplastic polymer polyitic acid PLA. The slide shows the elements of the case. Let's move to the tests. To begin with, identify the shortcomings of software implemented in programming languages with the connection of various libraries. Conclusion: an assembly on Apache 2 plus JS PHP is optimal for creating a digital library. Next, we will define the use of the device in the Wi-Fi network. The measurements were carried out using the Wi-Fi scanner software. Conclusions: optimal distance for working in the digital model of the supplier-consumer library is a radius of 40 meters within which the signal level does not fall below 50% of maximum possible value. Now we'll determine the use of the device operating system in the Wi-Fi network with obstacles. Conclusion: the optimal distance for working is a radius of 36 meters within which the signal level does not below 50%. The purpose of next study is the depends of the data transfer rate in the supplier-consumer mode on the number of users connected to the library. Conclusion: the transmission speed of this data is directly proportional to the number of users connected to the library. The data transfer rate for classroom user peak load is 2.4 megabit per second. In close, using Apache 2 cross-platform software, the CSS external document description language, the HTML hypertext markup language, the JavaScript, and PHP programming languages based on the Raspberry Pi 3B+ microcomputer was created a digital library with the ability to exchange data, the features of which are mobility and the ability to work from 5 volts to ampere. Thank you for your attention. And now I want to show for you a video where I demonstration a prototype. Wait a second, please. Can you see a video?
Yeah, we can see the video. So you can play it and we will see if the sound is correct.
Greetings,
everyone. I'm Roman Skorik, and now I want to demonstrate my project called Digital Library based on the microcomputer Raspberry Pi 3B+. First of all, you need to connect library into a plug. I have already done it. After that, you need to go to Wi-Fi settings and connect to the library network. 。  . 。 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 。 . 。 。 。 。
Yeah, we can see the video. So you can play it and we will see if the sound is correct.
First of all, you need to connect library into a plug. I have already done it. After that, you need to go to Wi-Fi settings and connect to the library network. After connection, you go to the browser and go to the local library's Wi-Fi web server. Here you can view and download files. For example, I will open Algebra ebook. We will wait a little bit. Now we have full access to the ebook. Also, you can upload files. Click login, and after that you redirect to the page where you can upload file. You need to choose file and click upload. After that, the uploaded file will be displayed on the main page of library. Thank you for your attention.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That was so interesting. This all may be so clear because we have no questions. So, well, thank you very much, Roman, and we'll go on to the next presentation, right?
And now we are going back to our first presentation because of technical issues. So now again from Russia, the next project that we are going to present is Digital Educational Environment at School. So now we are going to connect with our participants. Thank you.
Okay, we start. Let's talk about the relevance of the project. Now students face unequal educational opportunities due to lack of highly qualified teachers or due to different individual rates of learning rates or maybe financial capabilities of family or the country, and this problem requires a comprehensive solution, but we don't have such resources, and we try to solve this problem with the modern technologies. We have noted that almost every educational organization creates a lot of educational content, from own unique tasks for tests to also training manuals and guided materials, but all of them remain in closed notes of school children or tests which a teacher gives to the student. The tests just disappear. And that's how was born the idea of creating a platform to accompany the educational process and be a huge training package, which could be available to any student.
So about dynamic of project implementation. So results of 2018-2019, we have made a large library of texts, video and graphic materials, which were supplemented by infographics and placed on the first version of our site. Results of 2019-2020, we have changed the site engine from the platform Moodle to the faster and simpler one, platform WordPress. supplemented educational materials by tasks to test what has been learned, and added history and social studies to the subjects list, and added the gamification system to motivate users. So results of 2020-2021. This year we faced with the pandemic. We changed the familiar system of relations in society a lot, and online educational platforms were widely developed. So the competition for our platform highly increased. And we decided to expand the capabilities of it, adding new features for users there. But the previous version of the site didn't give us opportunities to implement our plans. And we decided to create a new platform. So our objectives were enable users to upload materials to the site themselves, realize the ability not only to solve the tasks from the developers, but also to add your own tasks, update design to distinguish our platform from analogs, and supplement social interaction on the platform, add users to tasks, to friends, chatting, etc. So the platform is made in a single color scheme, the choice of which is explained by our intention to make the site unique, modern, and different from boring academic platforms. Also, a very important part of the platform is convenient and simple interface.
Now we can see the result of our work. It is a video from our site, how it works and lives. And there is a homepage that we can try to describe now. In the bottom, we can see the name of our site, Spiel. It is the symbol that associate with MSU, with university MSU, and that's some problems with video. We will try to. Oh, something has happened. Oh, that's strange. Like, let's try to see from this. Maybe this will be better work. Yeah, of course. And first of all, we will go to personal account where you can see the tasks that you have added to the site. In the settings, you can change your name, family, add the avatar, write something about yourself, and choose the way. The way is how you will get your rank. The rank is part of the rating. It is part of gamification. For solving the tasks, user get points, and amount of points influenced to the rank that users got. Also, we have some function, for example, adding tasks, where to do this you should choose the subject, the topic, and the type of the task, and we can solve task. Now we don't have much of tasks, but also the system is working, and we just have to add some tasks. We can add materials, and that's similar to adding task, and we can watch materials. Now we have uploaded a lot of materials by any subject. Every user can go to the site and download some materials to their own computers.
Site insights. After getting to know the site from the user side, we should see the developers one. For the site to function, is necessary to understand a query language MySQL, which is used for creating, modification, and controlling databases. And to display the task and its solving is required several requested in different areas. So on, we use three programming languages: PHP, JavaScript, and CSS, and markup language, HTML. Perspectives. What will happen with the platform Spiel in the future? What are the development vectors? This year, we are planning, finish uploading prepared materials. And now we see two possible future directions of the first is development in social interaction, creating an online social network for the students. The second is development like a digital educational environment that can accompany a child, a school child, throughout the whole school time. That is all. Thank you for your attention. We are ready to answer your question.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. So,
we have no questions for you. That was great. That was so interesting, guys. Thank you very much. We're so glad of having you with us today. Maybe we can go on to the next
we are going
presentation.
to go on with the next one.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Led.
So now we are going to the delegation from Azerbaijan with the project EcoDSL, and Ibrahim is our speaker. Go on.
Hello, welcome. Name of my project is non-emissive ecodiesel, and I'm from Azerbaijan. Okay, so it's fact that 8% of all toxic emission gases are produced from cars. That's why I would like to introduce you a new type of a diesel fuel, which will help to reduce the number of toxic emission gases, such as nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, and carbon monoxide. Wait, how to do this? Okay, so let's move to the experimental. So let's move to experimental part. So we follow two different research pathways. So first of all, we used in this experiment 95% ethanol, NKPI 2018. This is our emulsifier. It is made of natural organic acids and propylene oxide. So we follow two different research pathways. In the first research pathway, D1, D2, and D3 mixtures were obtained of addition of 1 to 3% of NKPI 2018 respectively. However, in second research pathway, we followed three ways. We had D4, D5, and D6. So let's move to the D4. D4 is our optimum diesel fuel. It was made of 8% of ethanol, 90% of a commercial diesel, and 2% of NKPI 2018 emulsifier. This is our optimum diesel fuel. So let's move D5. D5, for D5, we use 92% of commercial diesel and 8% of ethanol. For D6, we also use the same thing, 8% of ethanol and 90% of commercial diesel, but D6, we steered it with magnetic steerer. However, D5, we steered it with ultrasonic cavitation method. D5 lost the stability in 10 days. However, D6 lost the stability in just 2 days. Okay, so let's move to the picture. Okay, so it is diesel is a normal diesel, commercial diesel, but our diesel type is nano-emulsified diesel, nano-emulsion diesel. As you can see here, the surface area is more, and the complete combustion here happens better than diesel, slower than diesel, so it means that it's more efficient. Okay, let's just differentiate my type of D4 diesel and the commercial diesel. So I'll show difference of combustion process of D4 and commercial diesel. So it is commercial diesel with a cetane number of 47. It is injected to the engine. And as you can see, there is no any nano-emulsion, and you'll see that complete combustion reaction will happen faster. And it's suitable to form nitrogen oxide, and there's less efficient heat control. So this is D4 diesel type with a cetane number of 46, our optimum fuel. It is injected to the engine. And as you can see here, nano-emulsion is obtained here because we use ultrasonic cavitator, and you will see the combustion process. It's slower than the commercial diesel when compared, and possibility to form nitrogen oxide is low, and there is more efficient heat control. So less toxic emission gases are formed. So these are our differentiated tables with commercial diesel and D4 diesel. As you can see, in D4, carbon monoxide was decreased by 75%, nitrogen oxide was reduced by 42%, sulfur oxide was decreased by 18%, and the most important one, smokiness, was decreased by 70%. This is my photos while working in the laboratory. This device apparatus is, on the right one is smoke meter 49501, and on the left one is Testas 350. So basically we connected Testas 350 to smoke meter 495. And we checked it in one of the well-known CDI cars in SOCAR's ecological laboratory. So we can see the results and the analysis of it. We checked all diesel fuels in CDI cars, and this is the comparison of commercial diesel with our 6 different diesel types. And as you can see from the graph, from the bar chart, D4 diesel type is the most efficient and is ecologically clean diesel type. You can see it from its percentage. And this is the bar chart. I did a bar chart according when comparing it with commercial diesel, D1, D2, D3, and all other. You can see carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, and smokiness. Okay, so in conclusion, we can say that ethanol in diesel engines has a number of possible benefits on reducing high temperature produced in the engine during combustion by using heat energy for evaporation. So as a result, the vapor of ethanol makes extra turbulence in the engine and increases complete combustion percentage. And at the same time, it decreases carbon monoxide emissions. And at the same time, it results in the decrease of nitrogen oxide gases. And so the commercial diesel, which is emulsified with oxygen-containing compounds, decreases nitrogen oxide emissions as a result of an increased surface area of diesel droplets. This project will help to reduce air pollution, which is one of the aims of the Kyoto Protocol. Results which laboratory gave us were pretty satisfying. Usage of this emulsion fuel made significant differences in emissions of carbon monoxide, sulfur oxide, and nitrogen oxide, and especially smokiness. The result of analysis shows us that the obtained fuel types are ecologically clean and at the same time economically feasible. So these are acknowledgements. This is Vagif Abbasov. He's the academician of Nation Sciences Academy of Azerbaijan. This is Saran Mamedova, Doctorate of Technical Sciences. She helped us a lot. And this is the head of SOCAR's ecological laboratory, where we tested our 6 diesel types. And thank you. If you have any questions, you can text us in my email.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibrahim. That was great. We have a question for you. It is, do you think that this could be better than the new solution of electric cars that are being globally applied nowadays?
The internet is lagging. I can't hear you well. Can you please repeat it?
Yeah, the question is if you think that this solution could be better than electric cars.
Okay, so if we look at it generally, electric cars is not present in all countries. For example, only highly developed countries use these electrical cars. For example, in Azerbaijan, there's few of them, but due to the diesel is less cheaper than the petrol, so everyone uses here diesel. So that's why related to, I did this project looking to Azerbaijan's economic, and I got the D4, and we'll try to use this diesel type in Azerbaijan very soon.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you,
Yeah, thank
Ibrahim. Now we're gonna have a little break.
Yes, 5 minutes break before our next speaker that is going to be from Bulgaria. So thank you very much and see you in a bit.
Okay, bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.
So, we are back from the break and let's continue with the presentations.
Okay, so now we have Bulgaria presenting their project. Daria and Nina, they are going to present their project about pollution, a big problem with a small solution.
Hello, today we will present you our project about air pollution. We chose this topic because it's important for us, for our planet, because it's one global problem.
Our team consists of our leader, Julia Barzat, we are Ina and Daria.
These are our contents: dirty air, sources of pollution, cars and combustion engines, fine dust particles, do I have to worry, can we protect ourselves, can I help reduce pollution, air purifier. One moment.
Air, a life-forming factor, the most important gas on the earth, the things we can't live without. Ever since man has lived on this earth, he has stood first of himself and then his living environment. In the past, the problem of polluted air did not have a huge significance or impact on our lives. But now, things are a little different and special. As the population grows, the problems grows too. As Winnie the Pooh said to all the children, the more and the more. Let's take a middle as an example. Before the advent of human civilization, the middle was clean, fresh, and beautiful. And what happens when people show up? Everything is peaceful until one day this miracle of nature appears. It is a human. Civilization is evolving and with it heavy industry. What happened to the beautiful middle? Settle. From the construction of one house, there are two. Over time, several more appeared, and very quickly these few houses turned into a village, and respectively the village into a town. Well, did the middle stay calm and beautiful?
Are the problems starting? One of them, of course, is polluted air. It smells of winter or dust and a huge amount of polluted air. The colder it is, the more the problem that is talked about every winter comes to light, namely the heavily polluted air. Naturally, the main reason is human activity, or more precisely, anthropogenic factors, which contribute enormously. How exactly? Using massively gasoline to power cars, producing energy from coal, cutting down whole acres of forest. Moreover, they contribute to increasing carbon dioxide levels. When this polluted air becomes too much, it cannot be naturally processed and accumulates in the atmosphere around the globe like a deeper. Thus, the Earth is warmed by the sun but cannot be cooled naturally as it has been for thousands of years. As a result, temperatures rise, the glaciers of the North and South Poles melt. This leads to rising water levels in the ocean, floods, and hurricanes in some parts of the earth, and droughts in others. Thus, the person acts favorably on his home. Of course, there aren't the only major air pollutions. There is something else, the natural pollutions. They are the result of certain natural processes such as volcanic eruptions, forest fires, dust storms, hurricanes, and more. As a result of their activity, large amounts of dust, volcanic ash fall into the atmosphere. Forest fires and constantly raging in parts of the planet. The dust that is released from them consists of small particles of ash formed during the combustion of organic matter. Active volcanoes are also a powerful source of air pollution. During their eruptions, large amounts of earth and dust are released. Natural air pollution doesn't lead to serious consequences for living organisms, and one would find it difficult to find with them.
Air pollution causes nearly 7 million deaths a year. Air pollution, also known as the silent killer, remains an unresolved issue for the time being, despite measures taken in many countries around the world. The most dangerous pollution in the air are oxides of carbon and nitrogen, as well as dust particles. Nitrogen dioxide causes inflammation of the airways, decreased lung function, and exacerbation of asthma. Fine dust particles, which are derived from minerals and chemicals of manufacturing, can enter a person's bloodstream and damage various organs. Air quality and pollution levels remain one of the main unresolved environmental problems worldwide. The path to the lung is designed so that it's difficult to get harmful mechanical events. However, if the dust particles in the question, which are in the air, are very small, less than 2.5 microns, they manage to overcome the nasal septum and reach the lungs. When a large amount of accumulates, a person is likely to develop fibrosis. In case of increased pollution, doctors advise people to nose needed scarves covering their mouths and noses with them. The quickly, sorry, in this case, the sanitary mask we use at the moment do not protect well. They quickly get wet, and so the particles stick to them. In addition, they not adhere tightly to the face, leading to the more damage. Can one help reduce population? Yes, here are some tips. For drivers, drive less, share the car with other people, use the public transport, ride a bike or walk. Choose energy-saving appliances. Set the thermostat higher in the summer and lower in the winter. Do not burn sheets, plastic, or rubber. Keep the cars, motorcycles, and other engines in good condition.
Cars and internal combustion engines. Air pollution is mainly caused by human activity and vehicles, in particular by cars. And here comes the topic of internal combustion engines, where the heated air in the engine produces nitrogen oxides, which include toxic nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide is a toxic reddish-brown gas with a strong odor, which irritates the mucous membranes, and its higher concentration in the atmosphere causes lung disease. In a petrol car, nitrogen oxides can be purified with a three-way catalytic converter so that the petrol car emits on average about 30% less nitrogen dioxide. The conditions under which the production of nitrogen oxides is intensified is a higher temperature and pressure, which leads to the conclusion that the amount of nitrogen oxides depends on the volume and duration of the hottest part of the engine. Diesel car filters can reduce PM emissions by more than 90%, but they require good operation conditions and regular maintenance. Fine dust particles. Contamination with fine dust particles is associated with many health problems such as coughing, wheezing, impaired lung function, asthma attacks, and others. It's also associated with premature death.
Do I have to worry? Although it is good to always pay attention to the quality of the air at the place residence for certain people, there is the higher risk of contamination with fine dust particles. These are people with cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and blood vessels, people with lung disease such as asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, lung disease, and children and teenagers.
Elderly people, studies show that obesity or diabetes can increase the risk. Pregnant women and mothers of young children should also take precautions measures to protect the health of their children.
Can I protect? We use the forecast to plan our door activities. When prognosis is bad, we are taking simple steps to limit exposure.
Choose an activity that requires less effort, stop activities in the open air, change our schedule, spend less time in proximity to busy roads.
Can I help for pollution reduction? Yes, here are some tips. Drive less, share the car with other people, use the public transport, ride a bike or walk.
Choose energy saving appliances.
Set the thermostat higher in the summer and lower in the winter.
Don't burn sheets, trash, or plastic rubber.
Maintain the cars, motorcycles, and other engines. Or
Air purifier, catalytic converter. The catalytic converter in the exhaust system is designed to reduce emissions of harmful substances into the atmosphere with exhaust gases by converting them into harmless components. The catalytic converter is used for both petrol and diesel engines. The surface of the cells is a thin layer of applied catalyst substances which include three components: platinum, palladium, and rhodium. Catalysts accelerate the chemical reactions in the catalyst. Platinum and palladium are oxidation catalysts. They contribute to the oxidation of unburned hydrocarbons in water vapor, carbon monoxide in carbon dioxide. Rhodium is a reducing catalyst. It reduces nitrogen oxides to harmless nitrogen. Thus, three catalysts reduce to the content of three harmful substances in the exhaust gases.
save our planet.
And thanks for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, girls. And we'll go on with the next project.
Yeah,
okay?
that is from Luxembourg. So
Okay,
thank
bye.
you very much. Bye.
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 Okay, so now we have a project from Luxembourg presented by EUS, and the title is the effects of alternative medicine on two types of bacteria. Okay, you can go in.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Aisha Manik, and I'm presenting my project today, the effect of alternative medicine on two types of bacteria. Now, before I get into the specifics of this project, I would like to go over some basic information. So in this experiment, I used two types of pre-bred bacteria, Escherichia coli, E. coli bacteria, and Bacillus subtilis or B. subtilis bacteria. I then used three types of alternative medication, so Echinacea, or also known as purple coneflower, eucalyptus oil, and belladonna on these two types of bacteria. My project overview. So my main goal was very simple for this project. I wanted to know how well or to what extent does each alternative medication that I just mentioned work with the two types of bacteria that I chose for this experiment. Now, something to point out is that due to the Corona and COVID-19 situation here in Luxembourg and everywhere else around the world, I was not able to use bacteria from my mouth, which was my initial ideology for the project. Thus, I had to use bacteria which was pre-bred in the laboratory of my school. But even though that was sort of a disadvantage, I did come up with a common symptom for my experiment. I wanted a common aspect for every single part of my experiment. Thus, I came up with the symptom of cough and cold. So all the medication that I use for this project would be prescribed to someone who is ideally experiencing symptoms like these. My hypothesis. So my hypothesis for this project was that the leaf-based medication, so Echinacea or eucalyptus oil, would cumulatively work better with either one of the bacteria I've used when compared to belladonna. My evidence for this was the fact that the leaf-based medication, even in its natural state, even before it's made for human production, does work better with various types of bacteria, even in its natural form. My material. So for this project, I use some of the basic materials that you might use, for example, Bunsen burners, ethanol, agar plates. I used a L-shaped spreader. I used the bacteria, which I used where I used them in broth form, which was the E. coli broth and the B. subtilis broth. And I used the medication, so Echinacea, eucalyptus oil, and belladonna in liquid form to have consistencies in my results. I used a hole puncher. I used eye protection for the experiment. And yeah. So let's go step by step by the method and how I did the experiment. So the first step, which I think everyone has to do when they work in a laboratory, is to sterilize your workspace. I used 70% ethanol to sterilize my workspace. Then I used some petri dishes and I labeled them with a permanent marker with what bacteria and what medication will be placed inside them later in the experiment. My next step was to take the agar, which was boiling, and slowly and gently spread it and pour it into the plates. I then took those agar plates and placed them around the Bunsen burner for 5 minutes so the agar would set into the plates. After that, I took the two types of bacteria, depending on what stage of the experiment I am on, and I took a pipette and took 2 droplets of the bacterial broth and put it into each agar plate, or which one they're supposed to go into. Then I took a separate petri dish and took a few paper discs and put them in the petri dishes. Then I took a dissolved form of the alternative medication and put them on the paper discs and left them for around 5 minutes to soak in. Then I took a tweezer and carefully picked up the small paper discs and placed them exactly at the center of each agar plate, which contained the bacteria. After doing this for every single combination, so every single combination of alternative medication and bacteria, I flipped the plates around and placed them once again around the Bunsen burner in an attempt to avoid contamination further into the experiment. Then I closed the plates with sellotape and placed them in an incubator for 48 hours or 2 days. I repeated this method 3 times for every single medicine and bacteria, or as I called it, a sub-experiment. Now, when it comes to my results, I was looking at the inhibition zones of the bacteria. So whenever you work with bacteria and medication or anything reacting with a certain type of bacteria, before the bacterial growth, there is always an inhibition zone or a clear zone where there is no bacterial growth. And then after the inhibition zone ends, the bacterial growth begins in the agar plate. And thus I measured that, the length of the inhibition zone, to see how well each medication worked with the bacteria. So as you can see in my results, I use a bar chart to clearly showcase my results, as I ended up with almost 18 different agar plates and 18 different sets of results, as I followed each combination 3 times. I did 3 trials to get better results. And thus here's the bar chart with my results. As you can see, eucalyptus oil worked best with both types of bacteria when compared to belladonna, and even Echinacea comparatively worked better when compared to belladonna. And thus my hypothesis is correct, and I accept my hypothesis. So, yeah. So in conclusion, eucalyptus, as you can see, or figured out by the results, worked better with alternative medication and bacteria. And thus, this is a symbol for how well the eucalyptus oil worked with the symptom of cough and cold. Now, when I presented at my national contest here in Luxembourg, I was told that the bacteria that I used was not the best for the symptom, which I agree with, as due to COVID, I couldn't use the bacteria that I needed for the symptom of cough and cold. And thus I had to use this bacteria, which was a downside for my project, but I'm still satisfied with all the results that I got. And yeah. So a thought that went through my head during the experiment was that I was focusing so much on alternative medication and herbal medication that I didn't think about the fact that modern medicine does have an upper hand, as alternative medication might work best for a few people with a few different types of symptoms, but modern medication has a big hand, has a big upper hand, because it has it has evolution, because in the medical industry, new diseases and new types of issues are growing every day and they're being found. And modern medication adapts to that, but alternative medication doesn't. So even though the whole project of mine was based on alternative medication, I still think that modern medication is the best when it comes to treating certain types of diseases. A reflection. So as I mentioned, I couldn't do my project this year the way I wanted, as my initial ideology was, in fact, to use bacteria from my mouth or any sort of bacteria which would have been more related to my common symptom. But due to Corona, I wasn't able to use it. Although that was a downside for my project, I would say that I'm quite satisfied with my results. And I'm quite happy with how it turned out and what it turned out to be. I would like to thank everyone who was involved, my school, the FGSL organization in Luxembourg, who helped me throughout the preparation of this project. And I'm here today presenting my project to you guys just because of all of them and their support and their contribution. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Yes, we have a question. It is: did you base your investigation on recent studies about eucalypt and belladonna, or did you experiment your own way with them?
So this question is a little weird one, because I did do some research on recent studies, and I did find some research done on herbal medication in general. But as you mentioned, the question is specific to eucalyptus and belladonna, and thus I didn't find any specific sort of research on those two types of alternative medication. But yes, there have been previous research on herbal medication in general and how well they react with different types of bacteria.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayus. So I guess we can go on with the next project. Thank you and bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Now we are going to go on with Georgia. So first of all, we are going to connect with them and then we will catch up again. Okay, so now we are having our friends from Georgia that will present a project about rational forward distance problem.
Greetings. We would like to quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Ani Gogia.
I'm Beka Kartolishvili.
Vlako Sofitashvili.
Maya Zakharov.
Anastasia Zrobiani.
Elena Tzishvili.
We are from Georgia. We study in Georgian American and Georgian American high schools. We would like to present our presentation about two interesting facts about square.
The British flag theorem. In Euclidean geometry, the British flag theorem establishes the connection between any point on a plane and the connecting segments of the vertices of the rectangle. The distance from the point to the center of the rectangle and the radius of the circle marked on the rectangle. This maintains that the point on the plane is different from all four vertices of the rectangle. It was this theorem inspired our topic. The theorem is called the British flag theorem due to the similarities between the British flag and the diagram of the points as shown on slide. The British flag theorem says that if a point M is chosen inside the rectangle ABCD, then the sum of the square distances from M to two opposite vertices of the rectangle equals to the sum of the other two vertices. So AM squared plus CM squared equals to BM squared plus DM squared. Now we're going to prove British flag theorem using Pythagoras theorem. So we have given an ABCD rectangle and we build lines from M point to the vertices of the rectangle. Then we create right triangles by drawing lines through M perpendicular to two sides of the rectangle, as shown on slide. Applying the Pythagoras theorem to each of the right triangles, we have the following equations. So the expressions above for BM squared plus MD squared and MC squared plus AM squared are equal, as desired.
If the given ABCD square is on a plane, if the given ABCD rectangle is on a plane and M is any point on the same plane, which is different from the vertices of a rectangle, then the following equation is true. The point M can be located both inside and outside a rectangle. First, let's consider the case where the point M is inside the rectangle. We can use cosine theorem to prove it. Second, let's consider the case where the point M is outside the rectangle. We can use cosine theorem to prove it. Now we will discuss triangle BOM, and we will write cosine theorem in this triangle, and we will get the equation which is true for all point M's.
Now let us move on to the square. If we have a given square ABCD on a plane and M is any point outside the square, R is the radius of the circle, and L is the distance from the point M to the center of the square, then following equations are true. Proof. We will use the coordinate system method. Let us thus match the origin to the center of the square and count each side of the square parallel to the coordinate axis. Assume that each side of the square is 2a. Therefore, these will be the coordinates of the square vertices as shown on the slide. The second formula shown below was not discovered before, and it is a new finding that we were able to prove. Now let us use the notations to get the formulas that are shown below. Express the distances between the point M and the vertices of the square using the distance formula between 2 points. Insert these images into the proof formula and simplify the resulting image. In the simplification process, we use multiplication rule, abbreviated multiplication formulas, removal of the parentheses by multiplying facts, and other properties of multiplication transform, resulting in a validation formula.
In the same exact way, we prove the second formula, which is the British flag theorem for squares. We'll use the distance formula between 2 points and express the images shown on the screen. And after simplifying those images, we get the same exact result, which proves the fairness of the formula.
Based on the formulas proved above, we found that the second, fourth, and the sixth power sums are sums of the values d1, d2, d3, and d4 are only dependent on L and R, which means that they're constants. This fact is demonstrated in the following video. So we draw an arbitrary circle with center at the center of the square. When a point is moving on the circle, the distances to the vertices are changed, but their second, fourth, and sixth power sums are constants.
Thank you for your attention.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. We have a question for you, and it is how did the idea of the project appear, and especially the idea of demonstrating it mathematically?
So this problem is the problem internationally for
Everyone.
For everyone, yes, and we proved that this problem can be solved by us, not only by adults, but only by students, by 9th graders and 10th graders.
Okay, thank you very much. So I guess we should go with the next project.
Yeah, next project, thank you guys. Next project is from Luxembourg, so we are going to connect with them and then we'll introduce themselves. Thank you. Okay, so now we are going back from Luxembourg with the project Anopheles project from with the speaker Alexander Hoffman.
Today I am going to introduce you to my project Anopheles. Do you know which animal causes the most human deaths each year? Immediately, one thinks of large animals such as lions or bears. One might also think of snakes or scorpions. But their reality is quite different. It is a mosquito, that small insignificant insect that causes the greatest number of deaths each year. Yet, 700,000 people die every year from mosquito-borne diseases, and on average, every 30 seconds, a child dies from malaria. The aim of my project is therefore to kill mosquitoes in order to limit the spread of these diseases and thus save lives. As it is a complex project, I decided to divide it into 3 parts. I have just finished the first phase of my project, which consists of spotting a human with a camera and then aiming a laser at him. The next 2 phases will be to improve the speed and accuracy of the system. How it is working. The camera sends an image to the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is a kind of small computer that allows us to program everything. The Raspberry Pi then analyzes the image using artificial intelligence based on deep learning. It deduces the X and Y coordinate of the human in the camera's field of view. Then the laser is turned on and the servo motors rotate the mirrors to deflect the laser beam towards its target. During the course of this project, the various components have evolved, and in particular the laser. I started with a leveling laser, but it had poor divergence, so I created a laser pointer, which turned out to be difficult to dismantle and fit into the housing. I then bought a laser glove from AliExpress, but due to a lack of technical information, I could not integrate it into my system. Finally, I found a green laser that had its own power supply and was really easy to insert into the housing. The mirrors have also evolved. I went from mirrors bought at the do-it-yourself store that were too small and had a poor divergence to a laser cutting mirrors that can withstand up to 60 watts, while my laser has only 30 milliwatts of power. Finally, the box. I started with a cutting shaping box in two, but unfortunately, it was not easy to make modification. It was not precise enough and it was time consuming. So we ended up 3D printing the cases, which gave us greater precision and the ability to duplicate the case. The results that I have. The system can detect human when they enter the camera field of view, and I'm able to aim at him with a laser. You can see a small demonstration here. Next, I will increase the precision and speed with a galvanometer and a 3D camera, and I will increase the power of the laser to burn the flies of mosquito.
That was great. So we have a few questions. First, would it be safe to use a laser instead of other traditional methods as insecticides or to kill mosquitoes?
The idea was to use this system when humans aren't in this place, so the place is safe and you can do something else.
Okay. And the other question was if this is something mobile or like that you can take, or is it something fixed that stays in a place? But if it's, well, yes, answer.
For the moment, it is, we cannot move it, but it is really easy to move it. It is small, so we could put it on a flying machine or on a robot with wheels.
Okay, thank you very much, Alexander. So,
yeah, now we are going on with our next project and last one from today's presentation session that is also from Luxembourg. So thanks, Alexander, for your project and your presentation.
hello everybody, we are back. So this is the last project of today's session. This is from Luxembourg, Kilian and Jonas, and they're gonna speak about PROBAC, a posture corrector. So guys, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Hello, I'm Kilian Lorenzen.
And I am Jonas Baltramitis.
And today we're going to present you, as already said, PROBAC, a posture corrector. Our parents annoy us frequently by telling us to sit straight. After that, we straighten our backs, but after already a few minutes, our back starts to curve again. We wanted to do something about this, not only to avoid the constant reminders.
So we did some research and found out that many teenagers sit more than 6 hours per day. We also looked around at school and noticed that almost nobody, not even the teachers, were sitting straight. This can cause very serious consequences.
As shown in this picture. Solutions. We looked around to see if there might be already solutions to this problem and always found the same design. This design consists of straps or a belt that force the body into a straight position. But you're permanently dependent on the product because without the product, nothing forces you in the position, so you still sit incorrectly.
We found this unsatisfactory and started researching to find a better solution. We read a lot, watched videos to that, and all of that finally led us to psychology. And that's how we came up to invent something that conditions the brain to sit straight, which means the body sits straight with its own energy/will.
We analyzed the research of Ivan Pavlov on classical conditioning, and we examined various examples of its application to the present day.
We found out how conditioning can be influenced by aggression, instinct, cooperation, reflex, and behavior. We also researched how we should use reflex conditioning to achieve our goals.
Reflex conditioning says that a neutral stimulus can be assigned to that a reflex can be assigned to a neutral stimulus. This was the starting point from which on we developed our own theory. One could use the knowledge of reflex conditioning in order to remind the user to sit straight with an object that was to be developed. We wanted to remind the user to sit up straight instead to force him. From there on, we put our theory into practice, and using trial and error process, we searched for an object.
Unfortunately, we had to abandon the idea of a positive stimulus quickly because nothing could be found. This could not work. So we had to develop a negative stimulus. To do so, we created some sketches and took those best sketches and developed those best sketches in a 3D program to a 3D model. And we 3D printed that 3D model in Formgäseknäppchen in Makerspace.
Here you see some prototypes, and yeah, they are all 3D printed. We wanted to make ProBag out of very sustainable materials. We had some ideas. One idea was PLA, that's a plastic made out of plant rests. Then we had plastic made out of recycled PET bottles. And then we had cork. Cork is a very environmental friendly alternative, but for us at the moment, it's not possible to make objects like that out of it.
Our first prototype was not very satisfying to us, so we changed the design a bit in the 3D program and 3D printed it again. We did some tests with the second prototype and researched some more, and we repeated this progress a few more times until we came to this end product, this preliminary end product, this ProBag.
The great thing is that not only ProBag works great for us, but we can finally pay it back to our parents, thanks to science. Our next steps. First of all, here on the side, you can see a little design, if you couldn't very well see it on the picture before. It has a front part and a back part with a magnet in between, so that can be attached to t-shirts. And then you position it in the way that as soon as you sit down straight, it collides with the chair behind you and reminds you to sit straight again. And our next steps are large-scale testing strategy. Thanks for watching, and let us know if you want to become a ProBag tester.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. That was so interesting. That was such an interesting research, and especially the point of approaching this so common issue from the point of view of psychology and classical conditioning. But we have a question. Did you try the machine project? Did you try it? And do you know if it works, or this is just a supposition that you made?
No, we tested ProBag, and it worked very good for us. I don't have the habit of sitting incorrectly anymore, and Kilian doesn't either. And yeah.
We also gave it to our friends so that they can test it, to our parents. My mother works from home, so she used it also. And yes, the first thing my dad said when he put it on was, yes, it reminds and not hurts. So we developed the point to be like, so that it doesn't hurt. It just gives you a stimulus. Yes, just reminds.
Okay, that's great, guys. Very interesting. And Claudia, please sit properly.
Okay, but so for now, we have finished with the third presentation sessions for today and the whole presentation session for today. And afterwards, we will have at 3:30 our activity of the virtual escape room. So thank you guys for joining and present your project. And now, yes, let us know about the activity of the escape room. We will be back on a Zoom link that participants have got on their emails. So if you can please sign in and fill in the form that we have sent to you, and we will be back on our activity at 3:30 Spanish time, okay? So have a nice day and see you tomorrow.
See you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.